Am I live? Okay. Let's go and post on Facebook to say we're doing the thing. Let's go and post on Facebook to say we're doing the thing.
Another trick it's working, so if you would just say some stuff.
Right, so what we're going to whoa. Started off by throwing my camera down the back of the telly. That was a good idea. We back? Okay, we're back. So yeah, this is Rembrandt's The Night Watch, but I'm actually going to mash up two of the different suggestions that were made. I'm just tangling my cables here. Mash up two of the different suggestions that were made and edit this by changing all the characters to Muppets from the Muppet Show. So what we need is some Muppets, and I have some right here that I prepared earlier.
The audio's alright.
The audio's alright, I'm told. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some Kermit to start off with. And so my graphics tablet's a bit awkward because it's very good, it's a large Wacom tablet, but it's also gets in the way of my keyboard, so the kind of awkward shuffling around is generally... no, this is too grey. The awkward shuffling around is generally me trying to type things while I've got my graphics tablet in my lap. Okay, that's a little bit better. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to use the automatic masking to grab Kermit, but it's not working very well because he's got a grey background. So this is fine, we'll just lasso him and we'll clean up the edges manually. This version of Photoshop is the old CS4 version, and that's all Adobe's fault. The reason is because they've switched
Dominic just said you went offline.
Did I? Did I go offline? It says I'm still streaming.
Okay, I'll check my thing properly. My thing just apparently doesn't want to... Sorry, carry on.
Well, either I'm offline or I'm not.
Well, it's changing its mind quite frequently, so...
Okay. So that's interesting. Is that you or me, I wonder?
Great question.
Okay, so this is Kermit, but he's very big. So we've got to work out which of these characters is going to be which Muppet. I think actually what I might do is I might get rid of Kermit and double the size of this picture initially. What would that be? 3840. The reason being that it's easier to edit at a higher resolution and then shrink everything back down afterwards. Right, there we go, so there's our Kermit. So the question is, who wants to be Kermit? I mean, he's kind of the protagonist of the Muppet Show, so I feel like he ought to be somewhere near the front, probably.
Do you want me to keep on updating you on who's watching, or should we wait?
No, you can chat about what you like, B. So I've got B over here. She's helping me with the stream because B knows about Twitch. You can talk about what you like. The only thing I need to know about is if the stream goes down because I have no idea what I'm doing. That's kind of useful.
Yeah, no, basically, like, I can see who's
Okay,
currently
cool.
in
So,
chat, but nobody said anything yet.
yeah, it's fine, it's fine. So we're going to have to manually mask around the edge of Kermit. So I'll do that before I resize him, because it's easier to do this stuff in large. And of course he's about to be shrunk, so it doesn't actually have to be super precise. We can do a very, very rough job on the edge here. It's literally just so that we've got about the right amount of frog. Actually, we're probably only going to want the head, so let's save ourselves some work and just cut. I want to keep his rough, because I feel like it's almost right as a period detail for this painting, so he can keep that. Oops. But we can lose like his actual body can go, because whatever we're pasting onto will already have a body. I could, by the way, switch brush sizes all the time here, but there's not a lot of point, because I really just want to go around the edge first, getting a nice clean edge, and then I can come back with a larger. So we're going to cheat a bit and just cut this entire section of his thing off. And the reason why is we could keep the original shape by drawing in an extra bit of it, but in fact, by the time we attach it to the picture, we're probably going to have to repair the edge anyway. So there's no point carefully rebuilding an edge which we then throw away and have to build a second time. Okay. Also, the colours in this are almost certainly wrong, but we'll fix that relatively late. I suspect that inevitably adding a huge pile of Muppets to this picture is going to make it more colourful than the original. It's not Rembrandt's fault. Okay, so that's the main edge of his ruff sorted out. I think while I have this brush, I will just go round his head, cutting everything else, and then we'll come back and clean everything up. So you can see there's a kind of backlighting effect on him, which is quite common for TV. That's going to be a pain in the arse. It'll look wrong, and we'll need to fix it. But that's more easily done after the character's masked, because it means we can just shade straight over the edges. The reason I'm periodically lifting the pen is not really to shift my grip, it's because the way that Photoshop does undo is that each undo click is one stroke from pen down to pen up, so you don't want to do very, very long strokes, because if you make an error it will undo a huge amount of work. Right, so that's complete, and now we'll just size this brush up a little bit and cut all the other bits off that we don't want, which is kind of easier to do now they're not all the way up to the edge. Swoop. So I think probably I'm going to put Kermit on that red figure on the left. I kind of never was very good in my art history classes, so I can't tell you who all these figures actually are. If any of you know, feel free to let me know which is the most Kermity of them. You've got about 30 seconds before we put him somewhere.
Oh no, you have to give them longer than that. There's a delay.
Oh, is there a stream delay? Oh, I see. Okay.
Also, nobody said anything yet, so you can
Well,
probably.
that's all right, because I'm being overly optimistic about how long it takes me to mask the outside anyway. So.
You know, if you'd prepped this properly, you could probably have put some kind of link in the chat.
Yeah, that's right. I could have done all kinds of slick professional things, and yet here we are.
Pretending like Kermit fits in this picture.
Kermit does. Oh, well, I mean, you know, one of the Muppets has to be first, right? But
because you're dull, you've chosen Kermit.
Well, no, it's just the first Muppet that you put in is always going to look out of place, right? But by the time I put the last Muppet in, it'll be the humans that look out of place. Okay, right, there we go, Kermit's head. So as a short-term thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that layer. In fact, I'll even call it Kermit. And then we'll do a quick save. That'll do. But yeah, the reason I'm duplicating it being that if I can now hide that layer, and then if I muck up this edit in some way, then I'll have the clean copy to go back to, and I won't have to remask. Okay, so Kermit wants to be about that size. I think that might be a little on the large side. Yeah, it's starting to look about right. So I'll resize to that, but then before we put him down, we might want to move some of this guy's stuff. So I think I'd rather keep Kermit's green neck ruff than this guy's more authentic one. So what we'll do is we'll add a blank layer over the original picture, just to keep all our edits in one place. In fact, I should probably name that, or I'll forget what it is. Call it background edits, and then I'll just remove his ruff, right, because we don't really want it, and then we can try placing Kermit down. So we'll zoom right in on this guy. You can see that as well as the kind of paint strokes from the original painting, there is also kind of pixelation from the way it's been encoded and grabbed off the internet and resized and all the rest of it, which isn't particularly good, but it's not worth fixing at this point. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing what's called the clone stamp in Photoshop, which is basically for grabbing pixels from one part of the picture and copying them to another. The reason I'm doing that is if I just use a pure flat colour, then it'll be really, really obvious that something's been pasted over. And I probably will do a bit of that later, but I don't want any more of that than I can avoid. Okay, that's too dark.
Yep.
So maybe from up here. I'm repeatedly resetting the source point of the clone stamp because I don't have enough of this colour, so I have to just use the same bit repeatedly. Okay, and I don't know why I'm being all delicate around the edge of his face because we're about to put a frog head there. And then we need to put something. Like most of this ruff is going to be covered up, but we need some of his clothing colour here, just to make it at least close, and then we can fix it later. Scribble, scribble, scribble. The thing I'm drawing on is a very old Wacom graphics tablet. It's one of the ones which doesn't have a screen, which I prefer because my computer, my PC that I'm working on, has a pretty good screen, so I would much rather look at that than some rubbishy little screen attached to my drawing surface. Okay, that is obviously not looking right, but it's reasonable. Let's just get a suitable size brush. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slightly darken this in places. It's not that any of this is final, but if it's a little bit closer to the right level of illumination, it's easier to see what we're doing. No, that'll do. Right, so we'll grab our Kermit head. Zoom back out for a minute. So it's going to go about there. So we probably want quite a bit of his head to be under the hat. So what we'll do is first spin it to a plausible angle. So I think somewhere like that. That's about right. And then what we need to do is we need to work out where the hat is and mask round. So he can't wear the hat the same as the original guy because
his hat's not the same shape.
Yeah, and his head's further forward. His head's not the same shape. There's all kinds of restrictions. So So the only question is, are we going to let Kermit's eyeball be outside his hat? I think you might have to actually move his head down a little bit, just otherwise. Oops. So that was a nasty thing Photoshop does. Is if you're on a control like opacity, it rebinds all your keys. So stuff which ought to move your image around then just doesn't. Right, back to the eraser. So we'll move in here, and then that's too large. Something like this. Okay, so his eye has disappeared into his hat, so that's not ideal. I think we need to move his head, or maybe even shrink his head a bit. Or we can redraw the brim of the hat. That might be the smart way to do it.
To be honest, I thought that's what you were going to do in the first place.
The difficulty with redrawing the brim is, I'll return this to full opacity. So the difficulty with redrawing the brim is currently it bends down. So in order to redraw it, we kind of have to change a significant section of the hat. This might be doable though, it's worth a try. So what we'll do is cut the whole of that section of the hat brim. In fact, probably even more than that. Let's have all the way up to there, and then we copy it because we don't want to be doing it on the original layer. And we'll tilt it a bit, move it up. Okay, that's about right. So then there's two kinds of repair that we need to do here. We need to fix that seam line down there, and we need to rejoin the brim at the end. Both of which should be relatively easy. Let's just zoom in a little bit. So we'll start with the clone stamp again and just grab some bits of hat to fill in. Bits of hat are a lot like other bits of hat. Okay, and then the brim probably needs doing in 2 stages at least. Fairly high opacity to begin with. I'll just make an edge. Okay, that's not too horrible. And then we get some of this red colour. One of the things you often find with these edits is they end up looking like slightly better than the original. Not in terms of the painting, obviously, but in terms of the bad JPEG of the painting. Right, so there's the Kermit head. Okay, so Kermit head is now much more plausibly in the hat. So I think we'll switch to the actual Kermit layer. You can see there's some little dodgy bits here, but these can just be deleted. We probably want to fix this roughnecks. We were talking about this a bit earlier, but the perspective of the ruff is not quite right in some places relative to the garment, so it needs changing. So we'll just outright cut bits off, and we're just going to reconstruct them completely. So I'll do it roughly first, just with a brush.
Roughly?
The reason being that... Oh, yeah, very good. B spotted the rough pun. Well done, B. Just because that way it's easier to see if we've got the thing in roughly the right place, and then if we have, we can sort out things like textures. But I mean, the lighting is still totally wrong, which is expected because it's quite a dark picture and quite a bright Kermit. Yeah, that's plausible. This one is completely wrong. Scribble, scribble, scribble. So I'll grab a different green for this, but this wants to be need a smaller brush, somewhere like this. Okay, and this one is a bit wrong as well. this direction somewhere. So this is where I get to the point where I can't see what this is. This is a finger actually, isn't it? So we're going to replace that with Kermit's hand at some point. But until we do... so the way that this tablet interacts with Photoshop is... Oops! Wrong button. The way this tablet interacts with Photoshop is you can bind things to the various buttons. And also my pen here has two ends, and the end that looks like an eraser is bound to the erase function in Photoshop, which is pretty useful. The downside of this is that Photoshop itself is not smart enough to know which end I'm using at any given time, and so this causes some problems if you want to do something like change the size of the eraser brush that you're using. The tablet's pressure sensitive, so you can do that a little bit, but if you need a completely different size, then you have to switch the whole thing, rebind the eraser to the front end, change the size, and then go back to using the back end. Okay, so this is kind of getting there now. The lighting, of course, is still completely wrong. But that's okay for now. I'm going to chop just a little bit off this because it's hard to see in the original image what's in that area. So we'll zoom back out for a bit. Right, so yeah, I think we are at the point now where we're going to need to do things with the lighting. So I guess step one is just to select the whole of that layer. Bang. There. Now we can draw all over it and it won't affect anything else, which is good. Helpfully, Kermit's neck is already in deep shadow, which is really nice because it gives us a big palette of colours to grab that are going to be approximately right. So I'm going to have some of this nice green. Oh, that's much too opaque. Let's turn it down to 10%. There we go. So we can just draw like this. This is actually still too light, but I'd rather do it in stages so I can get a sense of what I'm aiming for. Some of that is also a bit too blobby, but we can smooth it up later. Yeah, this needs to be quite a lot darker. Let's give it a little bit more opacity. Rembrandt always does a lot of really cool things with light, but one of the difficulties is if you just glance at one of his paintings, it can be really hard to tell where the light's coming from because there's usually more than one source or like clever reflections and stuff. So I think actually in this picture it's mostly up and left, which means that in fact this shadow under Kermit's chin is annoyingly backwards. Probably the easiest thing to do is just manually copy some neck fluff from the other side. Okay, so that's now too harsh. That doesn't really look like his neck anymore. Boop. That's coming out very bright, which is a bit weird because it looks darker. That's probably mostly an optical illusion. I'm just going to grab some of this dark green and do it manually. Okay, that looks a bit better. To some extent we're reconstructing his chin here, but that's okay. One of the good things about Kermit as a character is he's so recognisable that sort of minor distortions introduced are not really a problem. Well, I don't mean the editing itself. I mean things like if you get the texture of part of his neck slightly wrong, it's still obviously Kermit. The main difficulty I'm having here is I want to use as much clone brush as possible, because otherwise I lose that kind of plushy texture that he's got. Plushy texture is good.
Paladin says, "Oh hi."
Oh hi. Hi Paladin. But yes, this bottom section of his neck is not right at all now. This needs major refluffing. Some of this colour. It's maybe not quite opaque enough. There we go.
It's called the Photoshop Challenge.
Yes, that's correct. So we'll have some of this green over. Oh dear, that was too harsh. Some of this green over here. The that side is slightly shaded. Right, and we need some fakey highlights.
Paladin said the sound volume is pretty low.
Ah, well, maybe there's an OBS control, we can do something about that. So, if I go to this, I can drag this up.
Would you like
Hello? Hello?
Would you like me to go check?
Yeah, sure, why not? Check is good.
Paladin also asks, what's the challenge about?
Well, in this particular case, I'm messing around with Rembrandt's The Night Watch and putting lots of Muppets in it. But the broader idea is I've been messing around with people's photos all week, so putting strange things in their photos, a little bit similar to Reddit's Photoshop battles, if you know that contest.
Apparently the sound is better.
The sound is better. Oh, good. That's reassuring, because that slider is the only control I have over it. So if that hadn't worked, I'm not quite sure what I'd do about it.
Paladin asks, Discworld's Night Watch? Question mark.
Well,
I don't know if that means anything to you.
I'm not sure that's what Rembrandt had in mind. Oh yeah, of course it does. Yeah, Terry Pratchett's Discworld has an organisation called the Night Watch in it. Carrot belonged to the watch, I believe. Okay, so I've now, in fact, succeeded in mucking up Kermit's ruff in the process of fixing his face, because I don't think it was originally integrated into his neck like that, and I've now forgotten what it actually looks like. But we'll fix the rest of his fluff first, and then we'll go back and sort that out.
Neck fluff is not a thing I thought I'd be disturbed by, and yet.
Well, I mean, fluffy frogs in general are not a thing, right? Because frogs are not mammals, so they're not known for their fluff. They're actually slimy.
People who watch this do not deserve this conversation.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay, so this is large Kermit. Let's just zoom out a minute.
Sorry.
Right, so you can see like large Kermit, in common with other sizes of Kermit, has like a seam around the bottom of his neck, so that needs restoring. So it's pretty close in actually. It's kind of like that. Oops, except that's not nearly opaque enough. It's kind of like that. Even a bit closer than that. It's very, kind of like that. So I think I'm just going to recolour this in solid and then we can shade it in a minute. Oops. That's a good example of what I said not to do earlier. Is I did a very long stroke, hit undo and it done it again. The reason why is I'm using a brush that's really a bit too small, but I can't be bothered to switch brush size for such a small piece of stuff. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better, except for the fact it's completely untextured.
Do you think Rembrandt couldn't be bothered to switch to a different brush?
Yes, that's what I think. Officially, at least. Okay, so this is Photoshop's magic brush, so-called because it's not magic at all. What it does is it selects contiguous regions of colour. And I'm engaging in the tedious process of slowly changing the tolerance on it. There we go. Until it selects just the rough. The reason that's viable is because the rough is all exactly one colour. And so I'm going to make some kind of cheesy fluff by just adding noise to it using a Photoshop function. 2's not quite enough. 3 looks about right. And then we'll just manually shade on top of the noise. So, is that dark enough? Not really. Oops, no, that's much too dark. Something like that, and then this on the bright side. Okay, so that's the frog as a whole is now the wrong brightness, but at least the lighting is kind of halfway plausible. So hide the big Kermit head again. So what we need to do is I'll duplicate that and then we'll tone it down a bit. So this is quite a common strategy. Is what you do is you duplicate a thing and then you do adjust brightness and contrast. You turn the brightness way down, and it's in fact not scaling that very nicely. I might have to cheat. I'll just show you what's going wrong anyway. So if you turn it down, you see there are these kind of incredibly bright green pixels. That's just Photoshop's algorithm being a bit faily. It's probably okay if they're only in the highlights. So we can do that, but the brighter layer is still underneath, right? So now if I take a kind of largish fuzzy eraser, turn the opacity way down, I can effectively just paint with light. Except I don't want to do it there because that's under his hat brim. I knew that. We want to do it kind of here-ish. Right, and then we just need to fix this dodgy bit at the top, which is probably best done just by painting directly over it with something more appropriate. Let's go with this kind of green. Too large. Like this. Yeah, it's not too bad. Let's get rid of those highly suspect pixels. And in fact, we probably need an even darker green to shade a little bit. This, just the part that's completely under the hat ought to be darker, I think. So turn the opacity way down. Okay, not too bad. A little bit of hat colour around the edge of the eyeballs. Notice when I'm doing that you can't really see the pinkness, and the reason is because it's what we're sort of doing there is anti-aliasing rather than really painting with that colour. That's probably good enough. I'm aware I'm very zoomed in here, so I don't need to be that precise. Let's do a bit more around the left-hand edge. I feel like this is glowing a bit too much. Like the light is coming from that direction, but he shouldn't have a really sharp highlight on a plushy face like that. Okay, and similarly on this side, like this actually is kind of in shadow, so I need to shade a bit into there. I'm not opaque enough, let's turn it up a bit.
So what inspired you to do this image?
Well, I just asked everyone on Facebook. I said, name a famous artwork that I should mess with. And this was actually, this was a combination of two different suggestions. Toby, I think it was, suggested The Night Watch as a piece. But Dean was talking about a different painting. And I said, oh, I don't know what I should do to it. And he said, oh, you should replace all the characters with Muppets, which I really liked. So I kind of mashed up the two suggestions, and so we're doing Muppet Night Watch because reasons. Okay, so I think the last thing I need to do before I leave Kermit alone is we need some kind of shading under the edges of here, and I think probably it's going to work better in dark red because it's mostly the garment.
Paladin says, oh, so it's not to win karma on Reddit.
Not this time, no, that's right. I mean, I have previously won a Photoshop battle, but it's other than being an efficient way to get karma, it's not exactly my thing. Basically, the voting system on Reddit, like I really like the community who do those contests, but the voting system is very, very silly. In that it's literally just whichever one gets the most upvotes is the winner, and of course, because it's a closed community. Lots of people are voting for reasons other than which image they like, and they're not anonymised. So you can't take the voting too seriously. Like it's okay if you don't care, but if you're actually playing to win, it doesn't really work.
Also, to some extent, I expect it's once some people have started voting for a thing, you're more likely to vote for
That's
that
right.
thing.
People will. Well, they're more likely to view the ones at the top. So, like, I always make a point of if I'm going to vote at all, I go down the whole thread and look at all of them. But like usually the top 4 or 5 are the best ones. To be fair, like it's not a totally broken system, and I usually think that the winner is at least good. It's just in terms of picking between the ones at the top of each pile. Right, so that's enough on Kermit. That's enough on Kermit because we've got a whole picture to do. So we zoom all the way out. You can see that like we've been messing around with a very zoomed in thing. Kermit is, I think, still a bit too bright, but we won't mess with that further now. So we'll rename this layer. This will be Kermit Head. And we're not realistically going to go all the way back to our Kermit edit, so we can get rid of the big Kermit head we can throw away now. We're done with that. So all of these are, these are all Kermit related bits, so we can merge all of those down into a single layer. So that's just all our Kermit edits in one thing. Yeah, the background edits will keep us separate. And we've lost the name because that's how Photoshop rolls. So I'll just call it Kermit Head again. Right, so next we've got to pick another Muppet to go somewhere in this picture. So this big figure at the front needs sorting out. Who should this be?
Paladin says, Kermit too bright, but need to see in comparison to other characters down the line.
Right, I mean Kermit is too bright, I agree with that. But the thing is that now we've got that whole thing as a layer, we can easily just change the, well, not the opacity, we can change the brightness, which I won't do because it's harder to reverse, relatively easily. So we'll do that at a later stage. But we need to do the other figures. So let's go and pick another Muppet. So here I have I assume this still appears on the stream. Here we have a folder with lots of Muppet pictures.
I'll let you know in a second.
Yeah. So I think we'll grab Sam for that leftward facing figure, because I've got a leftward facing Sam here, which seems like. So this image is going to be hard to work with because it's annoyingly low resolution. But we've got a leftward facing.
Oh no, it doesn't show the different Muppets that you have. It now shows Sam, but.
Okay, cool, right. That's all right. I have a folder full of Muppets. That's there you go. That's what I have.
In case of emergencies.
So yeah, this is a very low resolution image, but it should be just about enough because it's the same size as this guy we're trying to replace. So I'll tilt him a bit. It would be nice to keep a little bit of Sam's neck ruff as well, because I think that's rather good. Sam looks like he's going to be horrendous to mask, so let's go and give it a try. Crikey. How are we going to do this? So, okay, I think the first thing to do is to do a rough mask, where I just get rid of all of this. Oops.
A rough mask or a rough mask?
Yes. Too big. Well, we just get rid of all of this obviously extraneous white around the outside and crop him reasonably close. So obviously one of the things I could do is just go around the whole edge masking him manually, and I may still actually elect to do that. The other option that I'm considering though is Photoshop obviously has various blending modes in, and one of the things you can do for really tricky masks sometimes is you can go for a blending mode. You duplicate the layer and you go for a blending mode where the layer only makes things darker. So obviously the side effect of that is that the white bits just won't do anything because white doesn't make anything darker. And so you end up with the figure kind of like a shadow on the surface underneath, and then what you do is you draw in the figure on a separate layer using just pure white. And that's sometimes easier than masking. Sometimes you do separate lighten and darken layers, but that won't work. That won't work very well with this figure because he's actually very light coloured. So okay, let's just make him half opacity for a minute so we can see what we want to do in terms of lining him up. Actually, about 60%. Right. So we want to keep his head nicely visible under the hat. So I think he's actually a little bit too big there still. We need to shrink him very slightly. Or we could move his hat up. Maybe that's what needs to happen. There's awkwardly a thing immediately behind the hat, which is going to get broken if we do that, but that might be alright. Let's see how the size of that is compared to Kermit, because we don't want Sam to have a tiny head. Yeah, that is a bit small. Sam's head needs to be bigger, so I think that guy's hat has to move up. So we have our background edits layer for exactly this purpose, so we'll hide Sam for a moment. Chop this. This is going to mess up the guy's head, but it doesn't matter because we're replacing that anyway. So we will put that above the background edits layer and then just move it up. Right, that's probably enough for Sam. Okay, so mostly that's come out quite well. We can merge it into the other background edits, and then we need to fix the background in that area where it's got a bit nasty. So more clone stamp. Oops, wrong opacity. That's not a bad start. Okay, so that's part of the guy's head, so we'll worry about that in a minute because we're about to replace him with Sam. So I'm not quite sure what this object is. It looks like a firearm or something, which that guy is holding. And I'm not yet quite sure how much of it is going to be obscured by Sam, so I think we'll cut the yellow bit off the end and leave just the barrel. I think that's a piece of fabric or something. And draw into this hole. So now he's got a nice well-behaved hat, or at least as well-behaved as the original. Not fair on poor Rembrandt, he never knew people would be zooming in, it wasn't a thing back then. Right, there we go. Opacity up on the eagle head. Right, so this is a better size for Sam. And in fact I'm even going to risk resizing him up a bit, which is rarely a good idea. That looks roughly right. Okay, I think it is going to be manual masking, unfortunately, so let's just get on with it. Tediously round the edge we go. I'll need to zoom in quite a lot for this because this is actually probably going to be the final edge, so it needs to look fairly clean. Also, in common, yeah, I'll see you in a minute. In common with most Muppet pictures, Sam is backlit, which makes it extra hard. Some of this kind of eyebrow fluff and so on could be reconstructed later if we need to. So there's a bit of space at the back here where Sam's head is not really large enough to fill the space we need it to. There's not a lot we can do about that. We could give him some extra fluff at the risk of making him look less like Sam. So it's worth considering. But we've got a bit of the original guy's hair sticking out there, which is not ideal. Trying to reintroduce a little bit of a sense of kind of fluffiness down here because we ultimately still need him to look a bit like the original character in terms of fluffiness. Awkward edit in the mouth here. Eesh. Let's zoom out and see how bad that is. Well, the good news is it looks kind of like Sam. The bad news is the back of the head is going to be a problem. So I think I'm just going to switch briefly to a different window so I can look up other pictures of Sam and see whether there's any visual reference.
We've got
Okay, so he's got...
Gemlad?
Ah, it's Gemma.
I guess Gemma. Who's saying, popping in
Hi, Gem.
between my many meetings, smiley face.
Cool. Good to see you. Yeah, so generally it seems to be the case that Sam has just got loads of blue feathers everywhere. So we're on brand as long as we're adding blue feathers. So I guess we'll have a layer. We'll have like a fake Sam layer to augment our real Sam and just put some some wholly synthetic feathers in there. So
Gemma's waving, but then remembered that she doesn't have a webcam on. So.
that's all right. I didn't know if I'd be able to see the webcam anyway. I'm not sure how that would work.
I could probably wave though.
Yeah, so this is just like this is completely made up structure, but we just need Sam's head to be wider. What can you do?
Stretch him.
Stretch him.
Oh, I got a hi. Hello.
Oops, no, that's too opaque. Lower opacity, please. Right, but not that low. That's about right. Also, he has this slightly kind of ruffled look, doesn't he? Always in the pictures, it's like he's not in very good order some of the time. Yeah, this is at least a little bit Sam-like. Steal some more of this colour to go down here. I keep reminding myself I'm going to be zooming out in a minute anyway. More colour, less brightness. There we go. It's actually a bit too bright. Oh dear.
Paladin says, Mohawk Sam.
Yes, it is a little bit, but you know, got to do them wide heads, right? I mean, what time period was this anyway? This is, you know, this is like Sam's historical, the style of the day. That's what we're talking about here. This is how he used to look back in the day. Oh, there's no point me doing that though. So the thing I was doing there is I was drawing all over this, but I was still on the back layer, so that was actually invisible. Not very helpful. Right. So
Gemma says it's tea time. I don't know if that means it's tea time or it's tea time, but...
Yes it is. I'm assuming a nice cup of tea. That seems like just the thing.
Do you want me to make you a nice cup of tea?
Oh, would you? That would be even more just the thing.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bee. Most kind.
The chat's there, so if you take the occasional look at it, because we have actually got people in chat at the moment.
Oh, nice.
So me making you tea at this very moment is in fact kind of annoying.
I can kind of read.
So it should pop up.
Chat. Yeah, that's clever. Mad tech.
It's a phone.
It's a phone. I've never had one though.
You know what your teacup is?
I don't really mind what cup you use, to be honest.
Where's your teacup?
Oh, it's probably in the kitchen.
Okay. I'll ask Mum.
This is great. How many people can say that they're mods making cups of tea? That's very civilised. I'm trying to get a bit of light onto Sam's beak here, but he's so... That's kind of glowing. That's not really the look I want. He's so light coloured already, it's very difficult to highlight his beak.
What type of tea do you want?
What type of tea? Oh, could I have Ceylon, please?
Sam. I work for Kenyon.
Oh. Okay, let's zoom back out and see if that looks anything like what we're after. Sort of. That really is very light. I'll turn them into a single layer because I think it'll be easier to work with. But I think it could be time to turn the brightness down. Okay, apparently I'm reliably informed 1642. So if I knew anything about history, that would now tell me what Sam's personal aesthetic should be. But I don't. So there you go. So I'm going to do the same trick again I did with Kermit earlier, which is to duplicate this layer and then make the bottom one brighter than the top one. Oops, hello. Oh, it won't let me adjust invisible layers. Okay. Boop. And this then lets me use the eraser brush to just draw as though I was painting directly with illumination. Beaks are a problem. Okay, I think we just need this bottom. I'll merge that down because that looks about right. But this bottom bit just needs to be a bit darker, I think. Yes, like that, but with a better brush. Slightly more gentle. No, it's still too small. Try a massive grape. There we go, that's better. Okay, cool. So, again, I have to, as with Kermit, I have to resist the temptation to be too perfectionist about Sam because I have quite a number of more Muppets to do. So, I will rename that layer to Sam Head and then go and select another Muppet. B tells me from earlier that when I'm selecting Muppets, you don't get to see the file dialog, so I will just pick one. I think Miss Piggy is going to be the next one, so now you should be able to see that. And again, I will just very roughly cut her out of this so that we can move her across and then decide both which of the original figures she should be and also how much cropping and editing of various kinds. Oh, we can close Sam's window now. Right, here we go. So, it doesn't seem to make sense to me to have Miss Piggy being this central figure because he seems to be quite tall. She could be, however, the little blonde character just behind Kermit's shoulder. Not least because the facing of the head isn't too bad for that. So I'll just do a quick test. I'm not going to keep this resize, obviously. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. So, next step is to mask it a bit. This is really hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a dummy layer to serve as a temporary background. Normally I'd make this something really luminous, but that might be absolutely horrible on stream, so let's try. Oh no, that's still excessive. Yeah, that'll do. That's perfectly visible. Right, let's go. So I think I'm going to need to mostly reconstruct her hair later anyway. So I'm going to be... Hello, that was doing something weird. Why was that weird? Oh, it's because I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Right, here we go. So mostly I'm going to be quite rough with the hair and just chop it right out where it's near the edge of the mask. This is actually, this isn't specific to this particular task. It's often the case with anything that's kind of fluffy or hairy or anything like that, that it's better to just chop the edges off and redraw them. Because even if you were somehow so careful that you preserved them, they'd end up looking wrong a lot of the time. I think it's to do with what happens if something is anti-aliased against the background, that your eye reads it as being a particular colour, when in fact it's already been changed graphically to something wrong. It just looks correct. Miss Piggy has very fuzzy edges. Right, there we go. So obviously I'm going to have to do a second pass around this edge. Ooh. With a much finer eraser, probably something with soft edges. But it's worth doing a kind of a large brush pass first, just because otherwise it takes absolutely forever scribbling out all the bits of background. Actually, we probably... It's possible we don't want this bit of hair at all, but I'll leave it in for now.
Tea fairy.
Hooray! Just on this side I'll lift it across, because otherwise disaster might ensue. Look, internet, a tea has been brung. Thank you.
You're lucky the internet can't see the inside of your cup.
Nobody should ever see the inside of my cup. It was not meant for mortal eyes.
Have you seen Paladin's question?
No, I haven't. What's
It says, in this modern Photoshop with the subscription...
Ah, good question. No, this is not subscription-based Photoshop, because I have little patience with subscriptions. This is the very old Photoshop CS4. So there are features missing from this which I could potentially use for this project, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because I don't want to advertise Adobe's product. He said, calling his thing Photoshop Challenge, but no. The way that the subscription model works is Adobe claim it was forced upon them by the degree to which people pirated their products. I wouldn't know, but speaking as someone who's always actually bought them, I can't afford to pay the monthly subscription because I'm not a professional graphic designer. And although I do sometimes use Photoshop for work, not nearly enough to justify that level of expense. Which means that when they shifted to a subscription model, I now can't buy their products at all. Well done, Adobe. So for the moment, I don't need an upgrade, which is good. But at the point at which I do need more image editing tech, it will be someone else's product.
Gemma says, huzzah. I don't know what huzzah is reference to. Maybe you know?
I can guess. I mean, presumably the conversation about software, but
huzzah.
Huzzah is good anyway. We welcome all huzzahs here on the stream. Yeah, I'm probably being unnecessarily fussy with this hair even now. In that I could imagine...
In fact, what are you doing? Why is it green?
So I put in a fake layer because masking Miss Piggy against the background was difficult, because the background that she's standing against in the original photo has a similar colour palette to the Night Watch.
Huzzah for the tea, apparently.
Ah, well that actually, yeah, I mean, that seems like a very reasonable sentiment. Whoa, okay, that's not my... Oh, there we go.
That's not my tablet, it's 10, it's too long.
I'll just show you this actually. So I've got a bunch of little buttons in the corner of my tablet. I don't know if the camera will focus on that. So when I press the wrong one, that happens. But they're very useful generally. They mean you don't have to constantly reach for the keyboard in order to do various common things like holding down Alt, holding down Control, holding down Shift.
Yeah, they can see the buttons on the thing.
You can see that. No, that's good. So I still feel like I'm probably masking Miss Piggy unnecessarily fussily. One of the reasons that becomes very tempting to do is because I found this big high-resolution photo of her, which of course I don't need because I'm just putting a tiny little Miss Piggy head into the original art. But it creates this temptation to mask with more accuracy than is needed. I will speed up.
Paladin says, have you heard of our Lord and Saviour GIMP?
Yes, it's installed on some of the computers in this house, but not this one. The GIMP is definitely a lot better than it used to be. I think it's probably a very usable graphics package now, but every previous time I've tried to use it, it's been just sucky enough to be quite annoying. So I'm perhaps more hesitant to switch over to it than I ought to be.
There was a winky face after the suggestions, so...
Yes, I assume that's because Paladin either recalls my thoughts on the matter or has read somebody else making similar remarks. But no, to be fair to the people on the GIMP project, it has improved immeasurably over the years, and it's definitely not unusable now. Like, it's a useful piece of software. And I mean, you wouldn't expect it to do everything Photoshop does, but I also don't need it to. I just want it to have a reasonably nice interface and be easy to use.
That is a very high resolution image, isn't it?
It is a very high resolution image. I'm probably being very silly, spending all this time masking it.
You keep on saying you're being silly, but you're not doing anything about it.
Well, the thing is, I haven't finished going around the edge, so like I would need to do that, however precise I was being, because we don't want kind of random splodges of red turning up. But possibly, what I ought to have done is done it with a brush that was twice as fat and just crunch. What have I done there? That's I've drawn on this. I've drawn on this. Okay, fine. That's fine because this layer is going now anyway. So, right. Miss Piggy head, let's go. So this needs to be a whole lot smaller. And we need to try and sort of work out how it's going to fit on this figure here. You see, that's actually her arm. So in fact we don't need the whole triangle with the pearls doesn't need to be there. This head needs to be even smaller actually. Somewhere around that kind of size. And the pearls I think can just stay. If we mount it kind of like that, then we just turn the opacity down.
What's irritating me about this? It's really working.
No! Don't worry, I'll embarrass myself somehow.
No, I don't mean that. I mean it's like the Muppets were made to be in this painting.
Oh yes, well that's. I mean the Muppets. I think in my personal opinion, the Muppets were made to be in everything, and you can't have too many Muppets. So yeah, we'll slice that along there, and then turn the opacity back up. Right, so this hair definitely needs recolouring.
Is this a bit too bright for the...
I'm
not sure it's be advertising putting your pen in your mouth.
It's okay, there's no virus on this pen. We've been in lockdown for weeks. Yeah, this colour of hair, like this figure has got hair all over her shawl or whatever it is. So rather than photoshopping out all that hair, we'd probably do better to just recolour Miss Piggy's hair as something a bit more similar. So let's just do a quick experimental pass using, if I just switch to a colour brush. Yeah, it's doing almost nothing, brilliant. Okay, let's try that again.
I could see the difference.
Alright, okay, so this kind of nasty golden colour is the shame. It's the same hue, and then we'll fix the texture in a minute.
Is the shame.
The shame, yes, the shame.
The pen hasn't. The pen has been locked down. The cat playing with it hasn't, says Paladin.
Well, yes. So people have heard enough about the current virus, I think, that I'm not going to chat about that. But let's just say that our cat is lazy and he spends all day indoors. So much so that even though I haven't seen him for 6 hours, I know exactly where he's sleeping.
No, you know he's sleeping, and you know he's sleeping in the house, but you don't know exactly where.
I have a pretty good idea. Right, so I'm going to take off the ends of these. Not so much because they couldn't be made to work, it's because they're slightly not in keeping with the style of the figure's hair. Okay, so this needs a little bit more editing on the hair. It's just not quite there. A fuzzier brush, a bit less of that. Darken only. We'll grab some of this colour. We'll just tone it down a bit. It's a bit much.
You're already over an hour into your project.
And I've done nearly 3 Muppets.
How many Muppets are you going to do?
That's an open question. Although the ones in the background are going to obviously be faster because there's no need to have like the same level of detail. Okay, that's reasonably integrated now. So let's just zoom out and check what Piggy's looking like.
By the way, I can see you the amount of effort you put into your OBS shot there.
Oh, my OBS what? Sorry.
Oh, just the header. It's
Is it very?
It's good, but there's nothing else. It's.
Well, okay. Right, so I've got her hair out from behind that guy. Oh wait, is it overlapping something here as well? What's this guy holding? I can't actually tell. What is that?
I think that's a glove.
It's like it's a glove, but he's got something in his hand.
Yeah,
and it's unclear how much of that is her hair and how much is the object.
I don't think he's got any of her hair in the hand.
I'm just gonna I think I'm just gonna clip a little circle of that. I think that's the object he's holding and not her hair.
It's honestly hard.
That's my editorial decision.
Maybe.
Okay, so I'll just do a resave. So that layer is now going to be Piggy head. So we're getting there. We've got some recognisable Muppets here. Miss Piggy head. So it's this front figure. So it is a shame that I can't get the file dialogue up on the stream. I'm sure there's a way I could have done that, but let's pick a Muppet. I'm sure chat knows their Muppets. Which Muppet should be the front figure? So we've got Fozzie, Gonzo, Ralph. I'll put Stadler and Waldorf in the background. Dr. Teeth, Animal, the Swedish Chef.
I mean, if you want an answer, you're going to have to wait like 30 seconds.
Yeah, or longer, because they might have better things to do than list Muppets. I'm thinking about it.
Gemma says Fozzie or Ralph.
Yeah, because of the height, it does make sense. Let's see if Ralph wants to be the protagonist. So, here is my Ralph pick. In authentic 1642 colours, you will notice.
Paladin says Cookie Monster.
Ah, well, Cookie Monster is not in my list of images. Maybe he should be, but he's not. So,
Is Cookie Monster a Muppet?
it's an interesting question. He's certainly and indisputably a Jim Henson production. Oh, you know what? Jem's a genius because the ears on Ralph are the same as that guy's hair. I'm just going to take a moment to appreciate the gloriousness of this. This guy already has Ralph ears.
Dumb.
Rembrandt, you genius. Right, okay. Or Jim Henson, or both. They're both genii. Right, okay, so we can do a very rough mask on Ralph because he
You've picked now. That's so good. You just have to do.
I've picked now. I'm picked. Some days you just have to do Ralph. Oh, but I need my purple layer back. There we go. Right.
It's confirmed. Gemma said, "Yep, I'm a genius." So.
Yes, facts, true facts. Okay.
You did mean to decapitate him, didn't you?
I did mean to decapitate him because I feel like I won't show it now, but I feel like it's just the head and in particular the ears that we really need here. Okay, that bit's
if you
good.
colour over his hair, nobody's going to notice that it was so perfect.
Well, you say that, but you see, one of the things people occasionally do with these kinds of edits is if they don't know the original very well, they'll pull it up in order to compare. Maybe it's just me. Okay, so I'm going to end up doing a lot of blending around the edge of this, I think, anyway, because the lighting, like that lighting is so wrong for being under a hat. It's a good Ralph photo apart from that.
You know, if somebody sees this as a Photoshop challenge, pulls it up and you're just clipping a Muppet, it's not going to look very...
I mean, anyone who's on Twitch has probably seen the internet before. They're not going to be too shocked by somebody masking around a Muppet. It's like, oh yeah, okay, just another day on the internet. Is that too big? It's big. Big like Reeve, yes. That's fine, there we go. Bonk. Right, let's get Ralph at least roughly into position. So good. This is the quality content people come here for. Right, okay. So, slight size increase. See, now I'm doing eye matching on a Muppet. Why am I doing this? Right, there we go.
Do you ever question your life choices?
No, I never do. Oh my god! That doesn't even, that barely needs masking. That's so good. Okay, okay, so onto the background edits layer, we're going to put the shadow of the Ralph head onto the guy's existing ruff. So we need this colour, and we need...
I wasn't ready.
I don't think anyone was quite ready.
Imagine if you'd picked Fozzie, you would never have truly appreciated it.
Suggesting I might have missed my opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, it's... Let's just not think about that dark feature. Right. Oops, no. That should be in shadow. This should probably be there. Okay, so that's the easy bit done. Now we need to do something about this. I think we can just select his head and modify the lighting around the edges, because I think probably the texture of the fur will hide a multitude of sins here, and we can just...
You know the guy right next to the guy you're currently working on?
Yeah.
That could be Cookie Monster.
I mean, as I say, I don't have a Cookie Monster clip,
well,
so...
aren't you a disappointment?
Yes, I think we can all agree on that.
No, you were great.
Oh, you see, I made you back down on me.
Are you forgetting this is going to be a video and that people are going to watch it?
Well, no, it's going to be a video and people probably aren't going to watch it. That's okay.
They have to get through an entire hour before they see this bit. And this bit's currently the best bit.
You know what's actually going to happen is that my computer's going to crash, right? Because the recording... Am I recording? I think I'm recording. Yeah, I'm recording. So my hard drive is going to fill up with this multi-gigabyte recording and the machine's going to crash. That's what's going to happen.
Can you not jinx that, please?
Actually, I said this Ralph was perfect, but I cannot resist moving his nose highlight a little bit to the left because our light source is up there.
Oh, it looks so wrong now.
No, it doesn't. It looks so good now. Oh, see? Authentic nose lighting.
I think the one next to Ralph looks like animal, says Jimmer.
Ah, well, that's an option because I have animals, so... Okay, so do we want to slightly tint this as well?
Paladin agrees.
Okay, right, animal it is. There's nothing quite like unanimity. It's just a little bit of recolouring. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so as with the other characters, the brightness is a little bit wrong, but I think he's about as close as the other ones are now, probably. Just zoom out again. Actually, joking apart, that does need to be a little bit bigger.
It's just... They're in a film and he's the protagonist.
Well, you know, Ralph, I feel like he's an under-recognised Muppet, honestly.
I didn't even know who he was.
You see, if you look at Wikipedia's list of Muppet characters, he's listed as one of the central characters, right?
Okay. Doesn't mean I know who he is.
And yet, everyone has heard of people like Beaker, who are supporting characters.
I've not heard of Beaker.
You don't? Oh, that's a. If I pull up the Beaker image, you'll go, oh, that guy.
I bet I will. Yeah. Yeah,
Beaker is going in this image, by the way. I guarantee it. Like, even if I totally run out of time, I'll be up at midnight putting
It'll
Beaker.
be that one.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah. But we
I
do
don't
have
know which Muppet Gemma's referring to, but I've got he's the sensible Muppet. And Gemma
it's
says,
not animal.
And Gemma says, right, another meeting, catch you later.
Cool. Happy meeting, Gemma. Gosh, this animal image is going to be challenging because the background is really bright.
Ralph. Ralph is the sensible one.
That does make sense. That's why we've never heard of him. Okay, so we want some fuzziness. Ah! Now then.
Me typing messes it all up. Right, okay.
Now then. That is actually a really good auto-select.
Also, Paladin said, oh, that guy, but it's gone too quickly, so I don't...
That's fine.
Probably the guy with the... So what's wrong with animal?
Well, I was going to say it's going to be really hard to select him because the background is so bright. But actually, I've managed a pretty reasonable auto-select based on colour palette.
Well, there we go.
Because Photoshop has the thing called Select Colour Range. So, like, this is going to be disgustingly bright now. Yeah, and you can see there's even a bit of fringing around the edge. But it's a good start. We can work with this. So, I'm thinking actually what I do with this guy is we chop a lot of his fuzz around the edge like this. Because it's all glowing too much anyway.
How dare you.
But then we're going to reconstruct it. Yeah?
Animal's getting surgery. Got rid of his arm as well. I guess he has a new arm now.
Well, he doesn't need an arm because the characters have got arms, right? Okay, so let's just check whose head. Oh my goodness, there's lots of ghosting. Lots of ghosting.
We need to get the green thing back.
We need to get the green thing back.
Oh, but that's not. You're gonna have to make the green thing darker.
Oh, what we should do is we should drag the finished heads underneath the green thing. And there's no need to do this, but this is annoying me. Right, there we go.
It's been annoying me for ages.
Yeah, so... yeah, we could recolour the green thing so we can actually see the problem. Boom! Right, now we can see the problem. So, oops! But let's not erase that layer, because that would be very foolish. Right, I think that's good enough, that's good enough. And then I'll make the green thing green again. Nope, not like that. like that. And then hide it. Right, okay, so animal head. We've somehow got to get it onto that guy. This just seems really hard. Okay, let's start by, I guess, just positioning it. So, dupe. There's still some crap around the edge, I can see it. I guess half opacity so we can see where it's going. Right, we're shrinking it down, but probably not too much because animal needs a fairly big head. So the guy's head is at about that kind of angle. I mean, we're just going to have to mess with his hat. He cannot wear that hat and be animal at the same time. It's not going to work.
I think you'll find he could.
Okay, so that's the wrong brightness, obviously. So even though, like, some of the others need brightness adjustments, but this needs, like, even before we start, it needs a brightness adjustment because it's just too bright. That's about right. Maybe even like that.
Why is there a green blob?
Where?
The green blob.
There's a lot of pixels on the screen. Give me a helping hand. Oh, that green blob. That's the bit where I repaired the background before checking what layer I was on. So this is on the same layer as the animal head, and it shouldn't be. Oops, no, it isn't.
Oh.
So where is it? Is it on the Ralph head layer? Better not be. Oh my goodness. What is that and when did it end up there? So, is that... Okay. Wow.
There's always mishaps.
Yes, that's what it is. It's Photoshop. Photoshop auto-switching the layer. So, fortunately, it was still in my history buffer. Otherwise, that would have been quite annoying. So let's clean up this stuff again. Sigh. So professional. I made a huge green blob on my art. Do you like it? Right, so let's hide that again.
You're lucky I noticed the really obvious green blob.
Yeah, thanks. That was helpful.
Everyone else was too polite to say anything. They thought, Dom's a professional.
Oh my god, what's that giant green blob? Nothing. 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 Okay, that's about the right size. What is this hat? I mean, what is going on with that hat, honestly?
It looks like...
It's like a Davy Crockett hat. Right, okay, something like that. And then, I guess we just zoom really far in.
Sometimes people have sponges, and they've got, like, knobbly bits on them. And that's kind of what it looks like.
So, okay, so why is the guy wearing a sponge on his head? That's my next question.
Paddon says, yeah, I went, Dom's a professional. Of course it's on the correct layer.
Of course. It goes without saying. Right, there we go. So, the hat is restored in all its glory.
There is no glory in that hat. It looks like a mistake.
I mean, you don't know what's in that hat.
It looks like... Are you saying we have
So, like, in my
a Paddington situation, there's a sandwich in that hat?
In my humble opinion, Rembrandt is the greatest artist in history. So you can bet that if he made the hat look like this, it's because the hat looked like this. So
I don't doubt that the hat looked like that. That does not make it not a mistake.
I mean, it was a mistake for the guy, I think, to wear it.
Yes.
That was... Oh, okay, so... Right. So this layer... No, I've got the right layer. The reason I'm hesitating is because the Ralph head layer actually has to be in front of the animal layer, right? Because animal is behind Ralph. And the same goes for Sam. Like, Sam's head has to be there. Because animal is behind him. This hat is actually on the background, though. So the animal like we have to give Sam his hat back manually, like so. Okay, hat restored. Similarly, I think this is Ralph's ruff. It is. So we can't allow Animal too much overlap with the ruff.
Is Animal going to be in it?
Yeah, he is.
Animal might be my favourite Muppet, you know.
Animal was Josie's favourite Muppet. So
Animal was my favourite
you're
Muppet
in good
because
company.
I have a bag, and that bag was Josie's.
Well, there you go. You see, it's the Animal legacy coming into play here.
I'm not going to lie. Before I got the bag, I didn't know who Animal was, and I still.
That's
don't really
okay.
know
That's
who
what's
Animal is.
called an education. That's what we do to children. Okay, so right, that now looks like Animal. The catch is these edges. Just what's going on there? So it's still too bright.
It's like looking at a highlighter.
I mean, it really was very, very bright. Yeah, you see, Photoshop's misbehaving again with those highlights, but that'll do. That'll do. That's close enough. So now we need to just erase loads more of this and then reconstruct it. So oh, whoa, weirdness. Okay. Hairy characters, they're the worst.
I
Yeah. Meanwhile, in a parallel dimension, somebody's photoshopping me in, just saying, let's get rid of all these edges. This looks rubbish anyway. Right. Okay.
He looks like he's going through premature hair loss.
Well, he is at this temporary moment. That's exactly what's happening. So I'm going to actually grab some of this colour. Grab this colour and use it to reconstruct. Actually, that's about the right opacity.
Surely you wanted to create more hair and then mask the whole thing.
Yeah, you see, what I'm doing is I'm painting over this with just a kind of haze of the darker hair colour, right? Because when you have hairy characters,
not all the hairs are visible properly.
yeah, some of the hairs are too small relative to your photo resolution.
He looks like a photo bomber, says Paladin.
Yeah, that's essentially Animal's personality. He's like a professional photo bomber. Okay, so then we just want a very small brush with a very high opacity, and we want to grab like a bright. But let's just cheat and turn the slider all the way up.
Let's just make it bright.
Yeah, and so then we can put in isolated hairs like this. It needs to be a little bit oranger actually.
The white wispy bits are definitely giving me Reeve vibes.
So these very small, like, the big difference between a graphics tablet and a mouse is drawing with a graphics tablet. It's very easy to get these small wispy strokes. So that some of this might need shading, but we'll just zoom out to see roughly what we're looking like. Okay.
It's the hat!
Animal, you are very. So, okay, this needs...
I'm convinced it's the hat. It looks like...
This needs just... Oh, whoa.
Looks
No,
like he's
not like
gone,
that.
like, fishing or something. And it got squashed, but he's still coming to visit the photo. Or he walked into a museum and just went, hey guys, I'm coming in.
Yeah, it could be a hunting hat. I mean, that's a thing, right? I'll just turn this down a little bit. We need to shade this because Ralph ought to be casting a shadow on him. So
is every character going to be a Muppet?
that was the original idea, and I still would like to do that. Obviously, some of these are taking a while, so whether we actually... this needs the brightness down again though, he's still too bright. That's better, there we go. Right, let's just zoom out a bit more and see how we're looking. Okay, so we're 5 Muppets down. We've got most
Thousands
of
to go.
we've got most of the foreground characters. Just resave that. Should we have Stadler and Waldorf somewhere?
Any questions have to be posed explicitly, and you have to wait 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what other. Let's just grab a Muppet and then work out where to put it rather than picking a figure. That's probably a good way to do it. So,
Are the do-do-do-doos, are they Muppet?
yeah, that's Muppet. That's legitimate Muppet show. If we include them, we have to also have Manar Manar, who I've got down here.
There's no rush.
Well, let's do those three.
I mean, to be fair, those three are my actual favourite Muppets, so...
Oh, okay. Well, they have to be in then. So
No, I'm not a Muppet person because I don't know stuff about
Manar Manar is good though. Look, I mean, look at this character design. This is excellent.
The question is, where does he fit?
Right.
No.
So, where does he fit? Well, we want to have a group of 3 characters. Oh, you know what we should do? He should be this guy, or this guy even, and the pink thing should be these 2. That would work. I don't know how we're getting that hat on him. I don't know, maybe the hat means this should be Dr. Teeth, actually, because he already wears a hat.
Well, there we go.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually going to...
okay, you're going to switch.
I'm going to switch. I'm going to not do Manar Manar yet, because we've got to do Dr. Teeth.
Oh, wow, that is terrifying.
You see, he's extremely extra.
He's terrifying.
Yeah, he is actually kind of a figure of nightmares. He's, oh no, this is where my Muppet knowledge is going to fail me.
It's okay.
But anyway, he's the lead singer of a band, of which Animal is the drummer. It's called Dr. Teeth and the Electric Something. And it's not Boogaloo, but I can't remember what it is.
If you wait long enough, somebody could correct you.
Well, we've got the internet right here, like, it could be searched, but... Okay, can we... Oh my god.
What?
Well, it's just Dr. Teeth is also very extra. Right, here we go. Just above the background edits, so... Okay, that's too big. That's about right.
Kind of.
She's very pink though, what are we going to do about this? Okay. So let's see if we can do it with select colour range, which would be the ideal. Might be a yes. Wow. That works better than I had any right to expect.
Electric Mayhem? Says Paladin.
Oh, plausible. Yes, that could be it. I have clearly
Can't
forgotten.
really go off the stream because
I have clearly
monitoring
forgotten.
the chat, so.
That's fine. That does sound right though, actually. I think Paladin's nailed it.
You also got to remember that Paladin probably has access to Google, unlike us two. Or just is a legitimate fan of the Muppets.
We just care about.
Rather than a fake fan like Tom.
We just care about authentic answers.
Definitely me.
Okay. So I mean, this guy's going to need his brightness turning down for sure. He's basically pure orange. All about the fluffy edges. Right, there we go. I think he can keep his feather. That seems, if not quite authentic period detail, at least in the right kind of style. Right.
Who knows what it is? Perhaps it's the back chair that's in view. Sorry, I'm just really trying to make sure I'm not on the thing.
Trying to work out what you can see in the.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine if you're accidentally on cam. Oh, that's a bit too tilty.
You want to experiment? Is that okay? Me sliding into shots?
Yeah, yeah. Whatever keeps you amused. Okay, so we just need a background edit to get rid of the bit of the other guy's hat. Because that's not right. Doop. Scribble, 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 scribble,
Doesn't
scribble.
quite work.
Okay, so then we just need, like, the brightness on him is absolutely ludicrous. So, oh wait, that's okay. Animal still didn't get named. I need to name that later, or it's going to confuse me.
The hat really works with animal. Like, it's awful, but it works.
Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Teeth needs his brightness adjusting. Actually, I think this time I might adjust the brightness the other way. So, anybody who's been watching the stream for a while will have noticed that the brightness adjustment gets very sad if you turn it down a really long way. It's not technically broken, it's just trying to work out what you're looking at. So if you want a huge brightness adjustment, sometimes it's better to just paint black over things at a low opacity.
Oh dear, there's a brightness feature, but the best way to do it is paint black.
Well, and like only if you want to massively reduce the brightness, because the brightness feature is really designed for correcting photographs. So now we've got quite close, we probably can use it. No, see, that's working reasonably well. That's probably about right. He's very orange. He's going to pop out of the background if we don't do that. Okay, so let's zoom out again and have a look. So let's do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So,
There's a guy on the floor.
there's a guy on the floor? No, there isn't.
Yeah, there is.
Do you mean this? This is a dog, isn't
No,
it?
that guy.
Oh, he's just a very short guy. I think I counted him though.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do. So for some of these people, I could just replace the head outright, and that would probably be okay. We should do this figure. He's quite.
Compromising on quality.
Well, it's not so much that. It's more like things like kind of fitting existing hats to people, right? Is a bit more faff. Whereas with someone like Beaker, you don't want to put a hat on him anyway. I'm just trying to see if any of the grouped characters have obvious locations. This is probably Stadler and Waldorf, isn't it? Realistically.
So you can say that, but I don't know who they are.
Oh, I'll pull them up. You probably recognise them.
Sorry, I know this is a stream for people.
Stadler and Waldorf are here. So, like, they're the grumpy old guys. Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Allegedly.
I thought you meant legitimately, and I was like,
No, because
that is quite
the
old.
Muppet Show's too old. Yeah, exactly. Too old, like the candidates.
It's actually true. They're too old.
Well, no. Obviously it's illegal, otherwise someone would have noticed a long time ago.
Can you be too old to run?
I don't think you can, actually, which is ridiculous.
What if you just...
So the reason I'm drawing all over this image before I cut and paste them is that it's got this lovely black background, which makes everything really easy. There's just various people pointing out in the US that the Democrats had this amazingly progressive field with all these really interesting candidates in, and then when it got down to the last two, it was two old white guys. So everybody was like, oh.
Should we be discussing this in the video? Or?
Oh, is that... I think it's allowed.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's all video.
nobody cares, so I should shut up, but other than that...
I feel very responsible.
Are you like the Twitch police?
I'm not someone in your chat, but yes.
Yeah, I should have given you actual mod though, so
I
at least you
know.
could post with a little sword.
I know, but you didn't, and I feel...
You know why though? It's because I was too disorganised. Right, okay.
Yeah, because the last 2 seconds was you going, quick, must stream!
Yes, wait, it's 2:30. Oh no, that's not 100% opacity. That won't do. blep. So now I can just, I think,
Oh.
do this.
Gemma's back. I'm
We're-
back. It was a short meeting because I was chairing. Smiley
Oh,
face.
nice.
Welcome back, Gemma. We missed you.
Welcome back to the stream. We've just realised how many Muppets we've got left to do, and it's too many.
That's because you spent the first hour doing one.
Okay, let's paste some
Paladin
heads.
says you can't be too old to run. My grandmother got told to run on a daily basis.
Ba-dum. I must resist the temptation to paste both these heads in the same relative position. Right, let's actually separate these layers to remove that temptation.
No.
Yes.
No.
The reason the head teleported there was because I cut and then immediately pasted, and so what that does is it the pasted object always appears in the exact centre. Which layer is this? Okay, that's the other guy's head. Right, that's not a problem.
We're professionals here. What layer is this? The other one.
It's the other layer you just made. Okay, so this
I'm not
guy's...
gonna lie, those two guys look like they're about to like make out or something.
Ah, well, so it has been suggested that there is a certain that there might be a relationship of sorts going on there, but I'm not an expert in Muppet fan theories.
Oh,
so
no, I don't mean the Muppets. I meant the original guys.
Oh yeah, well,
I mean maybe the Muppets.
Stadler and I thought you meant Stadler and Waldorf, and that
No.
has been talked about. But that's exactly why I'm pasting them onto these guys. I mean, other than the hat on this one, that almost works already. The brightness is wrong again, of course, because it always is. Image, adjust, brightness, boop.
I mean, what makes Rembrandt so good is I can tell that these people look like actual people.
They do. They do.
Whereas sometimes you look at paintings of historical people and they don't look like they're people you could see on the street, but in old clothing.
Mm.
Well, historical clothing.
Right, let's see if we can do something about this hat. So, oh, here's another thing I don't know. I don't know which is Stadler and which is Waldorf, so I might have to merge these layers just so I can name it.
That is horrible. I'm sure somebody can help you out. What? I can't Google it because I'm on the thing. I'm
Yes,
on
yes.
the chat.
Excuses, excuses.
I'm on the chat. Do you want me to moderate the chat or not?
Yes, please. Okay, let's hide both their heads. So this hat probably
The
needs
guy on the right and the guy on the left, they both look like they want to just...
This hat's behind another object. Okay, this is going to be hard. We have to do something with this head, but I don't know what. That's the one that's okay. This is the one that's not okay. So he's half behind that pike. I'm just going to put him in the hat.
Sorry.
He's going in the hat. Sorry. You're going in the hat.
That doesn't look like it.
Something's going wrong there. What am I doing? I'm erasing the background. Okay, let's not do that. Let's not do that. That's better. Yeah, see this convenient pike arm here is solving all our problems by being in the way. Right, is this more of it? It is, isn't it? Scoop.
Oh, nightmares.
I woke to a half Muppet head
Tempted to
staring
take
at
my
me.
laptop just so I can do other things while moderating.
Yeah, you
the
can,
chat.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's nothing interesting. I just need to work out what I'm
It's
building.
not my
in
intention
Terraria this
to
evening.
eat your whole afternoon.
Eat what I'm building. Maybe I should build a Muppet thing in honour.
A Muppet Terraria, now that would be quite a game.
Oh, Dom, his beard. Look, he hasn't got a beard, but at the moment he has, and that's the problem.
Oh, well, we need just a bit of shading down here, I think. I'm just going to do this
What's
manually.
this black over there?
What, this?
Yeah, the giant black splodge.
It's not on that layer.
There.
Like
There
that?
we go.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't belong on him.
No. Yeah, I'm not super happy with this either. I'm going to just... Oh, that's too... Oh.
Do you mind if I do lots of talking? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
I just...
As in, yes, I don't mind.
Yeah, I figured.
I mean, would I be right in thinking that you're mainly missing your stream?
Do you mean just in general? Or?
Yeah, in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I miss it.
that's right.
I think if I'd kept on at it, I would totally be famous by now.
Or notorious, one of the two.
Famous?
The good kind of famous, yeah.
I mean, that got me a good spoken language grade, so...
No, it's you're putting the chicken and the egg the wrong way round there. Okay, so this needs a little
Would you
bit
like me to Google which one's which?
are we really going to do this just so I can edit my layers with sensible names? Is that why we're doing this?
It's why I want to do this.
Okay, yeah, you can Google it.
But I don't know how to spell either of them, so...
Waldorf is Waldorf, and whichever one turns up for that is not the other one, he said helpfully.
What did you say?
Waldorf, like the hotel and the salad.
Sure. You know, I was just going to put up pictures. It's a school. It's like a type of education.
Obviously you add Muppet to your search, you Muppet.
I'd like to point out, most of the pictures are of both of them.
Yes, I know, because nobody knows which is which. It's not just me.
The most of them are of the white-haired one. Although
Okay.
some of them are of the grey-haired one.
Nobody knows. B, we haven't got time for this. I'm gonna make an executive decision.
I think it's the white-haired one.
Yeah, it's fine. The white-haired one is getting called probably Waldorf head. That's that layer now.
Oh dear.
And the other one is probably Stadler head.
Oh?
Zoom out again.
Joe has pasted a thing. They share the stage left balcony box in the Muppet Theatre, and the two delight in heckling every aspect of the Muppet Show.
Yes, it is a fact.
Waldorf is the one with the rounder face, white hair and
Okay,
moustache.
good, yeah, right, so it's correct.
In almost all productions, Statler appears on the audience's right and Waldorf on the left. Which is what you've done.
Cool, okay, we're good. Thank you, expert panel. So, okay, we're making good progress here, but we should probably start thinking about which ones are a priority to work on.
I mean, you have spent 2 hours and you've done not as many as you should have.
I mean, I've got 8 characters in, that's not too bad. That's averaging 15 minutes a character, albeit not uniformly. This character needs sorting out. Like, this is an obvious candidate for replacement.
But who?
But who?
Should we leave it up to our expert judging panel, or...?
Well, then we have to wait for the thing to loop round.
True,
Let's just
true.
see who we've got. So we've already used
Beaker
Dr. T.
loses the house.
Okay, Gonzo has to be somewhere. Let's get some Gonzo.
Immediate Gonzo.
So I'm going to clip him like this because we don't really want that
See,
collar.
Gemma says Beaker.
Beaker is definitely on the list. Beaker is happening.
Beaker is happening. You heard it here first, folks.
Right, so if we were going to be Gonzo, where would we be? Not behind Ralph's head. Okay, so he's facing kind of leftwards. He could be this guy.
Beaker could be the really short one.
I think this ought to be one of the chickens, actually.
There's chickens.
There's chickens in the Muppet Show, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now this is another, I think the lead singer of the chickens is called Camilla, and I think the others don't have names,
Oh.
but I'm not 100%
Sucks to
sure.
be them. We've got some clear Beaker fans though, so...
Okay, Beaker's next then.
Beaker...
A decision has been made.
Yeah.
Oops, I did the
Ah! That feels so wrong.
thing. But yeah, so Photoshop has this thing where you can rubber band a rectangle and it will zoom in on that rectangle. which goes horribly wrong if you forget you're on the zoom tool. Yeah, this is doable. Like this needs to be a little bit smaller.
In the hat, or?
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll keep him in the hat, but we'll maybe
You need to get rid of some of the.
we'll maybe
stuff on
adjust his
top.
collar a little bit. Yeah, this is about right. We can do it like this. Oh, except before I shrink it, I should get rid of this, because this is like, what tool is that? I've never seen that before in my life.
Crop tool.
Okay, I meant to click this thing.
Even I've used the crop tool.
What does it do?
Crops.
Thank you for that.
You did ask.
I walked right into your bad joke. Okay.
No, but it's like if you have a rectangle and you want to just chop off, you know, like a rectangular direction.
So why would you not use the rectangular selector for that?
Because crop's an all-in-one chop it off.
Right, okay, so I think if I zoom in on this... So I'll show you how this is supposed to work. So I do like that. Bang! There you go. You see, it is a useful tool.
That's a bit...
Some problem?
Just the edges. I shouldn't be making really
I mean,
horrible comments.
yeah,
about
the
your
edges...
art,
No,
should
the
I?
edges... It's not my art. It's, the edges are pretty rough. It's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a fake collar here. And then I'll just get a little... Just check we're on the right layer, because let's not make that mistake twice. Okay, so this... Whoa. More opacity. More! This comes... Oh, no, that's too much opacity. Can't win today. Let's just do it with brown first. Right, down like that. That's what we're doing.
Can I do it off topic?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember that film Chicken Run?
I remember Chicken Run. That's a good film. I like that film.
Terrified me as a child.
Did it, really?
Yeah.
Because you didn't want the chickens to be made into pies, right? Is that
I
why?
just found them quite scary.
You found the chickens scary?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what I thought.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Chickens being made into pie also
No,
terrifying.
it turns out we actually are on a different page to each other. You were scared of the chickens, not the murderous farmer.
I feel like I'm being made fun of here.
Yeah. I feel that too.
Don't be mean.
Don't be mean. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with being terrified of chickens. That's
Please, we're trying not to.
I mean, there's a whole... I don't know if you've ever seen the videos on YouTube of people running away from chickens. Like, chickens can be legitimately scary. Chickens can be legitimately scary. No, it's actually one of the funniest...
Can I get another drink before we
Yeah,
continue
of course
this
you can.
conversation? You can talk about everything.
And then I'll tell you about people running away from chickens.
You can talk about
on
the
YouTube.
joys of tea while I'm gone. I'm not about to get a tea because tea is boiled milky trees, but...
You used to call it leaves.
Pardon?
Leaves. You used to say it was leaves. So if I was suitably prepared, then I would have a link ready for the video of people running away from chickens. But it's a thing. Like the apparent harmlessness of the chicken is the appeal of the genre. Right, so Gonzo I don't think needs too much work because his highlights are already roughly in the right place. It's not too bad. I'm just going to put some shadow. Oh, that's much too big. Like just some fairly understated shadows around his hat brim. Ambient occlusion, that's what it's called. Even though there's almost no ambient light here. His eyeballs are kind of too bright. I might just give the whole thing a bit of a pass over with some... Yeah, that's better. Just to tone it down a bit, because he was a bit luminous. Hello, bee! So I think Gonzo's done.
Congrats.
So it's beaker time.
For everyone one is very
Okay, you know what?
excited.
Gonzo is actually still too bright.
Do you realise some of the other characters are much brighter at the moment?
Yeah, no. Kermit. Kermit is still too bright. These two are probably too bright. There's things we can do about it. I'm just going to name this while I remember. Gonzo Head. A layer name fit for a king. Right, there we go. So, this guy I think wants to be Beaker.
There are lots of very good options.
Okay, so... Oh no, that was... No. That was a failed auto-select. Let's try this. That's better. So we will have to X-flip him, I think. Because he's facing the wrong way to be that guy.
So good.
I'm just wondering if that's... Oh shit. Accidentally selected his face. I think we'll have to angle him a little bit. That's better.
You can convert anywhere.
That sounds like the basis for a fine meme. It's like the thing about Guile. Think about Guile's theme fitting anywhere, you know. Street Fighter.
Is that the one with the hair?
Yeah, that's right. The ridiculous hair. But there's this kind of long-running meme about Guile's music is appropriate to any situation.
Is it?
Well, not really, but that's the whole point of memes, isn't it? That they're kind of a little bit true, but not completely true. So it's just this massive sequence of videos of kind of other things set to Guile's music. Oops, no, I did the thing again. What I'm trying to do here... Oh, there we go, clone stamp. So I just want to rub out some of this stuff in the background. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to sort Beaker out here, actually. Because he's a bit wrong. Let's zoom in. So...
Maybe you should make just all the other characters the same Muppet.
Nah, wouldn't necessarily make it easier, right? Because you still have to... what takes the time is cropping the shapes, mostly. Right, so this is the guy's collar. So everything below the collar level is going. And then we've got to work out how inappropriate Beaker is here. Alright.
Beaker is always appropriate.
I mean, I think mostly that works. It just we need to get rid of the little bit of his shirt collar and put something else in. So I think we'll just...
A neck ruff.
If I can get a suitable size brush, I think we'll start by just making it go dark, and then we'll see if it needs anything added. We could put some kind of cravat kind of thing coming across, I don't know. Or layers of fabric. Let's just turn the opacity down on this a bit. So this kind of golden colour, lots of them are wearing bits of this. And then, where's the highlight? This kind of colour. Even less opacity, there we go. We'll just like some rolls of fabric like that, and then little bit of a dark. Oh, that's not dark enough at all. Yeah, that's better.
Have you been saving?
And then,
Have you been saving?
well, yeah, periodically. So let's turn Beaker's brightness down a bit.
Nothing can dull Beaker's shine.
Unfortunately, you're correct, so let's go for the other method. Select the beak and cover it in black.
Make sure not to do it on their neck bit.
Well, probably not the end of the world, right? If I hit that a little bit. I mean, the other thing is that the lighting here is not quite right.
No.
Oh, chance to mess around with a new tool. That's history brush, isn't it? Oh, it says nope. Okay, let's not do that. But yeah, I'll undo those two and we'll just duplicate this.
Why are you calling it your new tool?
Well, I haven't used history brush yet on this sequence of edits. So what I was going to do is tell everyone about how history brush works and how cool it is, except it's actually we're not very well set up for it, so I won't. Right, so I'll just briefly make this. I probably didn't want it brighter, do I? That would be nuts. Okay, let's just put more dark on this one. So, right, need a softer brush. This is a softer brush. Right, okay, so now we can just do the thing where we erase through opacity, bump. Merge that down, but we need a little bit extra, just kind of whiteness, right? Because too small a brush. Beak. That's probably good. We'll zoom out a bit and see if he still looks absurd.
Gonzo really worked with that hat. His eyelids match the hat.
Okay, another quick
That's
save.
the level of coordination I aspire to have.
Beaker head. Right, okay, so let's start being a bit strategic about how we do this. Because the other thing is, like, all of the stuff we've done at the moment is in the middle. So do we in fact want to do a kind of crop like this? So we could do that, right? So that would leave us with 4 figures left to do, which seems a bit more tractable.
It's up to you. Your project.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense because, like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 figures in the periphery who are really less relevant to what we're doing. So okay, if we're going to pick 4 more, who are they going to be? A lot of them have got hats. I don't know. Oops. Bye-bye to Beaker. So we probably won't use the chicken. Fozzie ought to be in there somewhere. He's an iconic Muppet. So let's do some Fozzie. Fuzziness. Turn the fuzziness up and the fuzziness down. But
I was drinking at that exact moment and...
My work here is done. Okay, so that is not a good auto-select, but it's still probably better than nothing, so I'll grab that. Oh, that's creepy. He's a pigeon.
That's the stuff from nightmares, honestly. Just have him like Teletubby's son, just in the corner.
One of the slight problems is that none of the remaining characters really have the right head angle. I suppose we can just spin him. So let's just take this whole bottom section off. Bang.
Oh, Fozzie, don't...
Fuzzy can be this guy, right? So Schloop. Is that gonna work? Yeah, it's gonna work.
It horrifies me how much this looks good. The Muppets are not meant to be in this painting.
Muppets are good with everything. You just have to accept this. Right, let's just... So we can do a very rough mask, because like some of the previous characters, Fuzzy is fuzzy. See, it's hard to argue with, you have to admit.
I did want to reply with something really sarcastic, but I don't know what's appropriate.
Fuzzy is fuzzy, it's a fact. Okay. Oh, you know, I can actually really annoy Ryan by uploading the recording of this, because it's going to be incredibly long. It's going to take like 100 years to upload.
I don't know, his recordings are sometimes pretty long.
That's true, this is a short video by his standards, isn't it? It's only been 3 hours or whatever it is.
two and a bit hours.
2 and a bit hours, see, that's nothing by Ryan's standards.
Developer realises project is strangely overstepping deadline
Strangely.
and needs scaling down. Winky face.
I have never overshot a deadline.
It says oversteeping. I'm assuming it's
overstepping, yeah.
overstepping.
I have never, how very dare you, sir, overshot a deadline so far today.
I am so confused.
I frequently overshoot deadlines.
As in you don't meet them?
As in I don't meet them.
That's what what an example to set your children.
What an example, yes.
A horrible example. What a horrible example to set your children. Don't meet deadlines, just kind of ignore them, overstep them, and never become any more competent.
Weren't you considering becoming a programmer?
Yes.
I'm sure you will meet every deadline in your whole career, and there will be no feet creep problems.
Don't say that. You're jinxing me here. It's going to be like my final university project. I'm going to not meet the deadline.
Oh no, that one you might.
I found my whole course.
That one you might be all right with. Okay, there you go.
He looks like a tiny angry army of rats has come and nibbled at his ears.
He's not. Yeah, but you see, we're going to scale this so small that by the time it's been scaled down, those will just be fluffy bits. You see,
They won't be rat bites.
They won't be rat bites. I mean, there is Rizzo the rat. We can have him if you like.
I don't know who all these people are. Rizzo the rat. Where do they come up with these things?
Well, you know, Jim Henson and his team were very creative. So
at the beginning, I was being all quiet, and now I'm fully taking over.
That's fine. That's fine. You've been very helpful.
People are going to start watching the video, get really bored, and they're going to miss all this quality content.
All this quality two-way banter.
Yes.
I'm assuming that the microphone is picking you up.
I mean, I've been saying stuff, so.
Okay.
Hopefully.
What's going on with this hat?
The thing is, every time I walk outside the room, I can't listen to myself because
so we need
I've
to
left
crop.
the room.
We need to crop really low between his ears, like this. Bang. And his original hat, it's just gone. Under what appears to be a pineapple with a feather sticking out.
They can hear me, which I think
okay,
is
that's good. That's good.
Great. I think the banter would be better if they couldn't hear me.
Honestly, no.
One-way banter.
No, I just sound like I was losing it a little bit.
Tom, you're putting Muppets on a Rembrandt. Are you not already losing it?
No, Muppets on a Rembrandt is my calling. I think you'll find.
Are you getting paid for this?
No, it's not that kind of calling.
Wow.
Okay, I'm really confused now. Why is this... Oh, is it because of opacity? That would be why, wouldn't it? Bump. Right, okay, there we go. So it is doing what I told it to do, it's just... The problem was me. Same thing earlier about reconstructing fur. It's usually not worth masking around fur because it reconstructs pretty well.
I feel like I'm going to end up listening to this video as a podcast.
I'm not sure it's going to be quite that entertaining.
This could be a series.
That's the politest way of saying this is overrunning outrageously that I've ever heard.
I don't mean this video. This one video should be a series.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, we should do it more than just this one time.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
I'm thinking maybe no.
It's not overrun that badly. It's like, it's still in your, what I got the impression was your time range.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's just I'm not done yet.
Not done yet.
Right, okay, so Fozzie is now looking a little bit more...
Look at his eyes.
The funny thing is, having now edited him into this hat really looks like a Jim Henson production.
It looks like he's got a stack of burnt chocolate cake on the top of his head.
I didn't draw that bit, that's the original hat.
And?
Okay, so we've got probably 1, 2, 3 figures left in shot. So...
Who's Mr. Sad?
Mr. Sad? This guy?
Who do you think I'm talking about?
I don't know. The face angle is going to be a problem, actually. I think I'm running out of angled faces in my Muppet collection.
I mean...
You see, Gonzo could have fit there, but we've used him. Rizzo the Rat. We were talking about him earlier. Are you laughing at this perfectly good Muppet?
Look at it! Look at it! That is a mistake!
I would just like to apologise to all Rizzo the Rat fans.
If you're a fan, if Rizzo the Rat is your favourite Muppet, there are better options.
Okay.
That I deeply offended somebody.
Actually, it's
Gemma
possible.
says he's no Roland.
Ah, yes. Well, Roland Rat was a true icon.
Is Roland actually better than Rizzo?
I don't have very strong opinions about the relative merits of these various...
So, what would I have to look up?
Roland Rat.
Would that actually... Roland Rat Muppet? Is that not a Muppet?
No, he's not a Muppet. No. Roland Rat is another TV rat. He used to host children's programmes on UK terrestrial television.
Okay, Roland Rat is kind of staring into my soul. I think I prefer Roland, but it's a...
Oh, I mean, you're missing the whole personality, you know. His...
Roland Rat had a hit record, says Gemma.
That's actually true.
What is the world? What is the world?
It's this round thing that we live on. Okay, this guy doesn't super want to be Rizzo the Rat, it must be said.
Rizzo the Rat can be
Unless I strip away his hat. That might be the way to do it.
Dear.
It's like we can just... Yeah, we can... Right, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. We just get rid of this whole...
We didn't have the
this whole deal
internet
is going.
in those days, says Gemma.
That's right. True facts. I mean, some people had the internet, they just weren't sharing it yet.
I mean, the internet really was the start of a new era. Changed the way people thought about everything. Am I allowed to say stuff like that, or am I too young?
No, that's exactly the kind of thing that young people do say.
Oh.
Allegedly.
How about Bunsen Honeydew for that guy?
That would work, but I didn't get some Bunsen Honeydew image, which I maybe should have done given that I grabbed Beaker, but there we are.
So really, most of the problems
I suppose I could
are down to...
I could go and grab a Bunsen Honeydew. Well, no, I tried to pick all the iconic ones, but obviously it's a little bit subjective.
Well, if you had been a real streaming professional, you would have put the list of Muppets that you have still got in the corner of your screen.
Oh, that's a very good
and
idea.
crossed them off as you went. But
yes.
did you do that? No.
No, I didn't do that, but that's a good idea.
This is why it needs to be a series, because I can... This is why you should have...
So what you're saying is it needs to be a series so I can get slowly less shit.
This is why...
Ah, it's a good thing. Good
this
thought,
is why you should have got me this morning to come help you do it, because I would have pointed out things like this.
But you do realise what I was doing this morning? I was sitting in front of my screen looking increasingly cross because the new device driver wasn't installing properly. Were you really going to help with that?
I mean, I could have talked to you about other aspects of it and what visually you needed, and you could have made me a mod before we started.
That part would have been good, yeah.
Not that it really matters, because it's
but like
a good human.
I only really got OBS running like at about 10 minutes before lunchtime.
Yes, I get that impression. Rizzo the Rat and Fozzie? Are they, like, friends?
Oh, that's a bit too much red there. All the Muppets get on quite well. It's like a very positive environment, low antagonism, I would say. Miss Piggy is the main antagonist in the sense that she's very short-tempered.
I'm not a fan of Miss Piggy.
I mean, it's an interesting debate to be had about whether Miss Piggy is a sexist stereotype or a feminist icon. I've heard both positions seriously advanced.
Could you say both at once?
Yeah, defensible. So you could argue that she's kind of reclaiming the kind of angry pig identity from those who would criticise her. I think that's valid.
Also, I think she could represent different things in her different scenarios. So there's sometimes where she could be a knight.
Oh, like a multifaceted character.
Yeah. Why can't characters be multifaceted?
Human complexity given form.
See, if people get to this bit of the video, they will be blown away by our...
by the incredibly low quality of our ill-informed banter, yes.
Well, our ill-informed banter is, like, this is some of the top gems, but then we can also have the bits, like, discovering that that guy fit perfectly into the head of... What was his name?
Ralph.
Ralph fit perfectly into the head of this Rembrandt piece. It's only till you get to the rat that you realise that really we're not complete idiots.
or the exact reverse, depending on how well our analysis goes down.
Poor.
Why is there this yellow triangle? Is that me or Rembrandt?
You. It's
How did I make it? It's not on this layer.
It might be Rembrandt.
Oh, actually, it's probably a fragment of one of the characters who I cut up mercilessly. Okay, so let's use the clone stamp and fix the yellow triangle. There we go. And we should do something with Rizzo's collar area because it's not quite...
Can I ask what's for dinner, or is that not appropriate for the...
You think the whole stream needs to know what your dinner is?
Yeah.
I've actually forgotten.
Okay. How convenient.
Oh, no, I haven't. It's pies.
I mean, all the people who aren't in my household and are watching this video are missing out on pie. I say they're missing out. I expect mine's a 3B and chili pie.
No, it isn't, as they didn't have that one.
What have I got?
You've got chicken and gravy.
What a classic B favourite there.
It's a vegetarian classic, mate.
It's not a vegetarian classic because it's not vegetarian. Right, I've got to pop into the... It's not vegetarian.
Okay, well I don't have a direct counter argument there. But I'm just going to go, I
want to see my head pop into the thing. I'm very excited. My thing's got a bigger delay than it might otherwise have because I've been popping off and popping in.
Oh, you've got massive stream lag, have you?
Well, I thought I did, but I think I might have missed my head.
Do you want to pop onto the on cam again and?
Wait, no, maybe I'll pop up. Desperately hoping but I'm really important, you know.
I know. Okay, let's just zoom out and see if Rizzo looks even more ridiculous than usual. Oh, for once I think I might have actually overdone that.
I'm going to try it again.
Wow, okay.
Okay, I've tried again in the blind hope I will
Fozzie
pop
is
up.
much too bright though. Image, adjust, brightness. Right, okay. So we got...
Oh, well, I'm so behind. I've only had the...
Are you just massive lag?
I think I'm massive lag.
Okay, so it's only really this guy we need to do now. We need to do this one guy.
Are you sure?
That
guy.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, there's two of them. There's two guys. They're both facing annoyingly sideways. We're just going to have to change their direction of facing. Even though that's a bit not ideal. So, who are the key people we've not used yet? I think we should have Mana in there. I like a bit of Mana. So, we'll try and do this with colour range.
Okay, yeah, I'm very, very far behind.
Do you want to actually reload it? Because...
if you don't mind.
I don't mind, and I think it would be quite a good idea.
Oh, see, I'm much more ahead now. I think. I know it's hard to tell until you do something really...
Let's invert this. Right.
Okay, I'm about 15 seconds out. From live to...
Okay, oh that's not so bad. So I'm just going to trim the whole of the bottom off this guy.
I mean, the chat's automatic, which is why I'm looking at it on...
Yeah, no, I understand. So you're seeing the chat with the same timing, but it's just the stream was really... Yeah. That's the way Streamlag works.
Are you putting Mana in, and you're not going to put do-do-do-do-do in?
Well, that one could be a do-do-do-do-do, or it could be both of them. I could cheat and put them both there.
No, don't cheat. Don't cheat. We can have Mana without do-do-do-do.
Well, no, I think I'll put one of them in, right?
And then the other one might feel left out.
You're making this harder than it needs to be.
Okay, right. Okay, fine.
That was a bit messy. Let's try that. There we go.
You could make one of the do-do-do-do-do. No. I was going to say you can make it the dog.
Okay, so I think this one we want to
So good.
we want to do that thing again where we just aggressively remove a bunch of his hair at the top.
Oh, that looks so wrong. Oh.
Yeah, it does, but we're going to put it
horrible
back.
Haircut.
We're going to put it back. It's just otherwise it's going to be a pain in the arse because it will all be the wrong colour. I'm honestly not sure about this right hand bit either. It seems like it's a bit... I think this has to go as well because it's also the wrong colour. Right, that's better. So let's scale him down. Doop. Shloop. I'm a bit worried about the bounding box there. Yeah, that seems fine. He has to be behind Dr. Teeth. Oh, and it looks like we failed to name something. What are you? You are Rizzo. I've not named the Rizzo head. Okay, there we go. So, this is... it's not too far wrong actually. It's the brightness is of course completely wrong again. Right, so I think we'll just do this with... I might try grabbing some of this background colour actually, because that might be better than... Whoops, too dark. Might be better than black for toning this down. Ambient light and all that.
The tablet's very big.
Yeah. But it's not the size, it's what you do with it that counts. Less opacity. Doop, 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 doop. And then we just need to grab some of this orange and make loads of wild hairs everywhere. Right, here we go. So, nice short brush. Let me just check what does his hair look like originally. Yeah, it's just all over the fucking place. Okay. Oh, can I say that on Twitch? Is that naughty?
You've already said other words this stream.
Oh, have I? Okay.
So
Not been closely monitoring myself.
I'm trying not to.
It's just I didn't do the actual settings thing, so possibly I haven't set the I'm a very rude stream flag, and therefore shouldn't say things like that. If there's any little ones watching at home, I'm very sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
I mean, I have in my stream. I had lots of rules and things like that, and I limited my own language, and I also tended to limit other people's language within reason. So it's like, if it affects somebody else, then don't do it. You know, like, oh, child friendly. And
Nice,
so I came in
nice.
here thinking I'm going to be child friendly, and then you throw those bombs.
I'm very child friendly.
You throw those bombs like you're the clown in Terraria.
Very, very child friendly. That's
no,
me.
you're not.
Yes, I am.
No.
Oops. Darken.
And much like you're a bad example for your own children, you're a bad example for everyone else's children too.
No, come on. I can't be a bad example because I'm not their role model. I'm a bad influence.
Bad influence.
There, right. There you go. There's a Muppet in the background. Right. So we need some do. Is his head too big? That's better. Yes, this guy, right?
Yeah, I think one do will do.
One do will do. Okay.
I mean,
file,
one do
open.
is do. Oh, friends.
Okay, so we'll flip this. I think. I always forget that. Right, so this one looks to me to have the better attitude.
Oh, you mind?
Not at all. So, going over here.
For Halloween, I want to dress up as one of them.
Really? Okay, that's an ambitious costume, but go for it.
I mean, not full bodysuit, just very pink themed.
Oh, I see. Okay, but then they will recognise what you are, surely.
I've never really dressed up for Halloween anyway. Feather boa would be the first step, I expect. Maybe just a furry pink onesie.
That brush is... Well, okay, let's just get rid of most of it first.
A built-in ruff right there.
I know. That's why I'm keeping some of that, because that looks
Perfect.
That looks very on message. Actually, this colour is one of the least Rembrandt colours ever.
And
well, so making it look integrated into the palette is going to be a challenge. It does not look like it's integrated into the palette to me. I'm just way too zoomed out.
I'm glad you finally.
Well, I was thinking, oh, this one's really easy to mask, but I should just do it properly. Let's just do the outside, it's easier. This is not the wrong brush for doing this, so I'll switch. going to do about those horns? Oh wait, have we still got our green layer of greenness? Come to me.
Dom's new best friend is the layer.
Oh, I've failed to name a thing again. Oh, it was Manamana. Right, okay, that's fine. So let's get back on here. Yeah, if I make this visible, right, now we can get down to business. Doop. Okay, so yeah, with these things are just going to be annoying. I'm going to need a fine brush for that. Yikes. Hard mode activated.
Oh no, this is horrible.
They've got little pink fringes around them, but I can deal with that separately.
Why is it that the thing goes more when it goes out?
Because I have a pressure sensitive tablet, so I'm pushing down harder. It's useful because you quite often want to change the thickness of the stroke as you go along it, so that's what's going on.
When I first got my tablet, I had to press super hard to get any kind of line.
Really? Why?
The pressure was just completely...
Because you didn't bother to go into the settings before using it, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you sorted it out now?
I think so. I don't know, I did it months ago now.
Well, what I mean is, you've used it more recently. Is it now pleasing to use, or is it still...
It's fine. It's
Good,
fine.
okay.
Don't really use it for that, for which it was intended, for which it is intended.
Well, you use it as a writing tool mostly, don't you?
More just messing around.
For drawing pictures of the cat. Right, okay, so that will do, I think. Get rid of the green layer. I will just rename Manamana while I remember. I have no idea how that is actually spelled, nor do I care. Right. Hello.
That's Manamana, Dom.
Yeah, it did the thing again. Okay, right. So yeah, about there. That's about right. And we'll need to mask out the hat. So... yeah, I probably don't need to change layer actually. I could probably just do this. Do a massive zoom in and clip some things. Right, so maximum opacity, this is good. All the way around the edge of that hat. And everything below that is gone. I'm going to fix this colour. This colour is unfixable.
I think colour should just stay. If do-do-do-do-do is the highlight of this picture, I would not be mad.
The literal highlight, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this...
Oh, it's just so extreme.
This background needs at least a little bit of work. So I think we go down to background edits. And we just do like this. Whoa, 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 whoa. A little bit more care is required there. Okay, there we go. Right, so the last thing that needs to happen is we need to sort out the edges of that. Yeah, because it just needs selecting. It needs its edges sorted out. So this side is bright. Whoops. So darken brush is not going to do much for it. But this side is dark. Okay, let's just turn that right down. Right, okay. Oh, and this top stuff is all like it's supposed to be really, really, really dark. We just masked it really badly. In fact, let's just turn that all the way up. Cannot be bothered messing around with that. Right, there we go. Okay. I'm just going to go for a slightly blurry eraser and blur in these edges a little bit because it's a bit too harsh. Oop, too much. Okay, something like that. Right, let's zoom out and see how ridiculously overbright that actually is. Yes, I know, I know.
Can't even see the eyelashes! It looks like you just destroyed her eyelashes.
I mean, I'm not too surprised we can't see them. Oh, that section is... We need to get rid of that. Let's try that again. Okay, cool, so that needs really a lot of toning down. Okay, maybe not quite that much.
You did say a lot. I mean, that's as tony as it gets. Oh, you're just making her sad.
She's in the background, like... Okay, right, so I think we're ready to... So we'll save that, and then I'm actually going to save a copy. Because backups are big and clever. So now we'll sort out things like Kermit's head.
There's nothing wrong with Kermit's head.
It's too bright. That'd be slightly too little. Right, that'll do. Okay. So I think the other one who needs a little bit of attention is maybe Dr. Teeth. Oh, Miss Piggy's probably a bit bright.
Miss Piggy deserves to be bright.
Yeah, but like maybe not quite that luminous. That's better. Dr. Teeth maybe not so bad actually.
Sam's a little bright.
You can do a bit of Sam. Notch him down one. Yeah, you're right. That's better.
Of course I'm right. I'm always right.
Okay, so let's flatten this and then take the crop that we want and then do some final stuff. Discard hidden layers, yes. So let's see. So we want ideally a square crop. So something like that. So we definitely want to crop all the way to the bottom. Yeah, it's pretty decent.
I have a question, and you're not going to like the answer.
Yeah. What if it's your question? Then I get to pick the answer.
Is that a person?
No, it's somebody's glove, isn't it?
It's got feet.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's go and let's have a look at the original Nightwatch image, because otherwise, who knows? Are you a person?
It is.
I mean, it's a person, but that's not their head.
What?
That's a piece of armour, isn't it? Those are ridged armour plates.
Oh.
So
it's fine.
So this is like so this bit here. Actually, let's do it with a pointer so that the stream can see. This bit here is the edge of one of those armoured hats they wear, right?
Okay.
So this is the hat brim. So the face will be about here.
Okay.
So
that's fine then.
So it's a Muppet. Honestly, it's a Muppet.
It's a Muppet.
Everybody
right.
knows,
Yeah.
right? So okay. So here's our. So now what we can do is, because this is now a flat image, we can now do like spot edits on this directly if we feel the need. So if there's anything, and mostly this is just like colour. So this guy is too. Let's just put the opacity really low. This guy's too bright, so let's put a bit around there. That's a bit bright. Tone that down a little bit. She's a bit too bright. No, too much. That's in the original, so we'll leave that. He's allowed to be a bit bright because he's a protagonist.
I was joking.
A bit more shading down there. Animal is upstaging everyone, which is to be expected, but that needs some toning down. This guy's in the background, so he should be darker. Fozzie's a bit bright. Rizzo just looks ridiculous. We can't fix that. It's
by design.
Beaker's hair needs to be fairly bright, but we can blend it slightly into the background. Actually, let's give him a little bit of Beaker. I think could have a bit of lens flare even. Let's just turn this all the way up. If we get a very large brush, yeah, that's about right, and a low opacity. Too much. Yeah, like that. Dr. Teeth, maybe? This piggy's still too bright. Sam needs to be bright because he's obviously in a light beam of some kind. I'm sorry, I'm turning your favourite bit down, making it less absurd. Okay, so we just need a little bit of. I'm going to add a vignette to this. You know what that is?
Darkness around the edges.
Yeah. So it's a sneaky way you can do this. This is like cheating vignettes, which is you just select an outer bit like that, and then you create a new layer. Whoops, not like that. That was not black. Just put actual black all the way around the edge, and you do a Gaussian blur on the black up to some large number of pixels. Bam! Instant vignette. So there's only one save left to do.
Animal is more forefront than he currently looks like. Should be slightly brighter? Question mark.
Is he?
That's Paladin.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's. In terms of physical closeness to the front, yes, but he's not standing in the same light beam that the two characters in front of him are. Also, he's bright orange. Right, so I think the last thing we want to do is we want to mess with the hue, saturation, and lightness of the whole picture. So if we turn the saturation down, we get that effect. If we turn it up, we get that effect. So which one do we like best? I think I like slightly desaturated. Lightness.
Or
that's about right.
Photobomb Animal says.
Okay, I think we're there. So let's just save that. I think Muppet Nightwatch is the only possible file name for this. Maximum quality, obviously. And we're done. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. and I'm going to stop the stream there before the hard drive crashes due to the size of the save.